While much of the attention in the Mackenzie Shirilla case has centered on her relationship with Dominic Russo, Davion Flanagan's story is sometimes overshadowed. He wasn't Mackenzie's boyfriend. He wasn't part of the drama. He was simply a friend in the wrong place at the wrong time. Davion was an innocent passenger, a young man with his whole life ahead of him, whose name too often gets lost when people talk about this case. His memory deserves to stand on its own. The detective interview with Davion Flanagan's adoptive parents gives us a rare and emotional look at who Davion really was. They share how proud they were to call him their son, how much light he brought into their family, and how devastating it was to lose him in such a senseless way. Through their words, Davion is no longer just a victim in a tragic crash. He's remembered as a loved and cherished young man.
This case gets overshadowed by Mackenzie and her boyfriend, RIP to Dom, and he didn't deserve to die. But Davion never gets mentioned, and I'm going to challenge the bigger YouTubers to start mentioning the victims' names. Start saying their names, because that is going to haunt Mackenzie forever, and they deserve it. It's getting to the point where people are making videos, and they're clickbaiting, and they're putting all this effort into going at Mackenzie and you know, making fun of Mackenzie. But at the end of the day, we cannot forget Davion. Davion has a GoFundMe out there, and that goes to people that are in barber school, and their tuition gets paid by the parents as soon as they get enough money up from the donations, and that is awesome. This dude was going to have a bright future. He was a great kid. From everything that we've heard from every individual, we haven't heard one bad thing about Davion. And listen, Mackenzie Shirilla is a killer. That channel has been doing a great job showing the victims, the bright side of the victims, the happy moments. And then other people are not even mentioning the victims. I haven't even heard them mention the victim's name one time. And this is why I started to go at certain individuals in the Wade Wilson case, and I'm about to turn back up. And I don't care if you think that we're friends on YouTube or what. I'm on the side of the victims, and I'm going to put my foot down, and I'm going to make sure that you say their names. Let's go.
It is August 9 at 17:27. I'm here with Mr. and Mrs. Flanagan, Davion's parents. I'd like to start. Just tell me about Davion, please. Just general.
Davion had a big heart. He sometimes to his own detriment, but he was faithful and loyal and was very easy to make friends. But he also was...
He just wanted, like, he was always there for people.
Right.
Like, if you needed him, he was there. If it was family, if it was friends. Like I said, just that's his
emotionally,
heart.
physically, he was there for you.
Yes. Just a really big heart. He was very passionate about football. That was his... I mean, it was his dream when he came to us at 8.5 for foster care. He had never had the opportunity to be involved in organized sports. As a mother, I was like, oh, does it have to be football? Can it be something else? But it was what he loved. And, you know, he
eventually became the starting running back for Strongsville in his senior year. So
and that was a dream achieved.
It was a dream come true, but then
of course wanted to continue on.
The harsh reality of a torn ACL in his third game of his senior season. Yes. So he got to live the dream for a little bit, and I think, if we're being completely honest, it was probably the start of his downward spiral when he lost his passion, like the thing he was most passionate about in life, and he had that kind of taken away from him.
And I would say his rebellion. I think he was in a bit of a rebellious phase. And he's 19, 18, 19. But in general, he was just such a kind and loving soul. He was... I would always say he had an old soul because he was just like wise beyond his years in a way, a lot of ways, because he's had to experience so much in his short life.
Yeah, he saw a lot in those 8.5 years before he came to us. He was exposed to a lot of things that no one should be exposed to at all, let alone a child.
Right. You don't end up in foster care on an easy path from to get there. So he was He was a
He was
a
athletic.
protective. He was a protective and loving brother. He really always, even from the beginning when the kids came to us, he was always, just checking in on the girls, making sure that, that crying that he's hearing is them, kind of rebelling against maybe the timeout they were given, or, have a seat here, honey, everyone's okay, no one's being hurt, come on, take a look, he was always in the periphery.
Always checking in on his
Always
sisters.
checking in on his sisters. He had
all they had
experience.
was each other.
Yeah,
really
that's
for much
all.
of their young life, it's all they
Yeah.
had was each other.
They were in county care for 2.5 years before we found them.
Really?
And they were legally free for adoption when we found them. So we went into it knowing and wanting to adopt, and wanting to keep the siblings together. And amazing.
He was very athletic.
Hardworking. Very hardworking.
Very hard worker.
He put
He
his
was
mind to
also
funny and
he had a great sense of humor.
charming and
Yeah.
handsome. He was all of these things, but he wanted to go on to be a barber. That was his dream.
He was a team barber for the football team and the coaches, so he had his own equipment, and he would always have them over, much to our detriment, because there was hair always all over the place. But
and in fact, we just left the funeral home this morning, and one of the things they said is he will not need a barber or beautician. His hair looks great.
He did a good job with it before he passed.
Yeah.
He wanted to own his own shop someday.
Yeah.
So it really was like a lifelong passion for him. Like he had every opportunity through being in Strongsville and Strongsville High and having parents who could help him achieve his goals.
Yeah, or advocate.
He could have
for
chose to go to college. He could have chose to be a fireman or a policeman because he was very athletic and built. He chose barbering. It was literally a passion for him. He got great enjoyment out of getting great haircuts.
He also loved to take things apart and see how they worked. Very mechanically inclined. There's been bike rebuilds,
car rebuilds,
like bicycle, not motorcycle.
Right.
But also, just always tinkering. I mean, we put him even 6th, 7th grade. We signed him up for a summer mechanics course at Polaris. Just get his hands wet and learn. He might have been 8th grade.
And he would.
And he also did one for law enforcement. Just trying to get his interest peaked, see what
Whatever
he wants,
it would be.
or
And he would spend. This is a little bit before the spiral, but he would spend days at the next door neighbor's house with a car jacked up and helping them, just
helping a friend,
not requiring anything more than just a friend asking, and totally taking apart these vehicles and putting them back together again.
Yeah.
And
for no monetary gain or for anything, he just was. This was, what
part of being a good
boys
friend
did.
was,
it was. Yeah, it was part of being a good. That's just.
He was just a really good friend to his friends. He had a really large group of friends.
We were working. He was working towards. So he just graduated high school, and he just obtained a full-time job recently, and he was working at. It was Armbrusters.
It's a moving and storage company in Brunswick.
On 303.
And 130th.
Yeah.
Catty corner from the Aldi warehouse in Brunswick, if you know where that is.
Yeah, he was working full-time in the warehouse, but also going out on moves. So he was doing, hard physical labor.
Earning some good money.
Moving pianos and houses. And he was
saving up for
barber school and just, to get himself more set up in a better financial position. Barber school, the one that he wanted to go to, and we've got applications and stuff for. There's one downtown that's by the West Side Market area.
That was what he wanted, yeah.
And that's the best in the area, and that's what we're looking at. We've already talked to people there. There's a 1-year wait list, which we were working on getting him onto.
Which is why he was working.
So, yes, so the idea was that he was going to work full time, live at home, save some money, get himself set up, and we were going to assist, with caring and providing for him, obviously. And But he was gonna have some skin in the game for sure, with barber school.
Cool.
So
That's absolutely fantastic.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was really on such an upward trajectory. He didn't have it all figured out yet, but at 19, yeah.
So can we talk about the downward spiral?
Sure.
Is that an okay topic to delve into?
Yeah,
Sure, if it helps.
You kind of brought that up
Yeah,
too. So
yeah, I did.
yeah.
So tell me more about it.
So Davion, okay, so if you look at how Davion came to us at 8.5, he always had blood up. He's not going to let anyone hurt him like that again. Is kind of, I'm sure, how he was.
Closed off.
He's
yeah.
afraid to, in a lot of ways, like,
Trust. Love.
trust, yeah.
Yeah.
He had been hurt and abandoned and, all these things. And so over the years with us, though, we had really built that up. We had built the trust and the love, and he was really, really finding his way
It seemed
in
like
there.
that. Mhm.
But he's also a popular kid. And there's a lot of influences out there that no matter how hard we try, we would try to keep him from that. To be in all honesty, my husband and I had some marital problems, not really like
About 5 years ago or
mind-induced,
so.
about 5 years ago.
I was
My-
undiagnosed bipolar, and I was going through a manic episode that I wasn't aware of. I still made the decisions I made. I still
there
take full
were-
responsibility, but we had some marital fidelity issues.
Well, and just things that come out of that when,
Right.
And
that really stepped him back a bit because he thought he was in a safe place.
Yes.
He thought he was in a place that he could open up maybe
And
and
he
start to
was.
share. And he really was, but that
Yeah.
my lying and my cheating and the
it
things
hurt
that I
him
did,
deeply. And
it hurt
him,
him
as much
deeply.
as I tried to shelter the children from it, they're aware. They're observant. They've been through a
Kids are
lot of
wise,
trauma
yeah.
anyway, so
They know where to
just
spot it.
pick
They know how
up
to spot
on stuff. And so through that process, though, my husband and I have obviously are still together. We've done a lot of counseling and work. We found God together
through this trial, and so did Davion.
So did Davion. We
and
were
his
all,
sisters. We were all baptized the same day.
April 1st, 2018, on Easter at Grace
Church in Middlebrook Heights.
Christian and Missionary Alliance Church in Middlebrook Heights. We
And-
were all baptized together that day, and it was something that I originally thought I was just going to do. But then slowly, after I made this statement that yes, this is what I'm going to do, slowly over the next week or two, everyone came to me individually and said, I would like to do this too. Are you sure? I'm in my 40s. You don't
You have to find God when you're 14 or 12 or
it was
But they all
a
wanted it.
beautiful moment. He was very involved in church at times, but then, these losses happen. When he was already kind of, he turned 18. This is just a unique situation because when he came to us, he was behind in school, obviously, 8.5, having not a lot of groundwork done. And now he's going to a really good school program. Strong Soul is a great program. He's in first grade with kids that have had years of adults pouring
them.
into their lives. And just the fact that even he was on grade level by the time, it just is phenomenal. All of the children. I mean, his sister Divine came to us going into kindergarten, did not know her alphabet, letters, sounds, and couldn't hold a crayon properly. We have done an immense amount of work, tutors, full-time nannies, but just pouring into these kids.
And Davion, because I think of what he'd been through and his family history, medical history of mental illness, he struggled. He struggled with depression. No, I mean,
He
and
did.
anxiety.
He did. He struggled with depression
And I
and
think
anxiety.
that's what kind of fed into the spiral a bit is because when he smoked weed, he felt calm. He felt happy. Something that the medicine, we hadn't quite found the right cocktail yet for him of medications to to get him the help he needed. And he didn't really want to talk to people and open up about the things that he'd gone through in his life.
Like we
so he self-medicated
so many
with
different,
marijuana.
Mhm.
And then we
discovered that obviously very quickly, and that hasn't been that long.
It hasn't. I think again when he hurt his knee and he started to spiral, that's when I think it really started to happen.
He really was very anti-drug. I mean, for a long time he went
through the DARE program and he gave a speech
that had everyone
graduation.
in the room crying.
The mayor shook his hand. Persiak came and shook his hand after his speech, talking about how drugs ripped apart his birth family, and he'd never have that happen to him in his life. But his mental, I think just the weight of his mental illness and the things he was struggling with, his anxiety especially.
And we were trying to get things figured out too. I mean, my kids have always seen counselors and therapists and child psychiatrists, and because we want to give them every opportunity to succeed as possible and give them all the support, whatever that is going to be. And so, we had tried to do that. Davion was fiercely independent, though. He, from a young age, I mean, to be honest, he was watching adults in his previous, birth family and even in foster care. I mean, they were moved for reasons of violations by foster parents, that he was watching adults make decisions that, quite frankly, his ideas might have been better than theirs at that point.
Right.
And so there was just this piece inside him that always just wanted to be in charge of himself.
Right.
And he
knew better than the adults.
And it made sense, but in our situation, in our house, and the way that we parented and poured so much into him, that was a struggle at times, because he would think this and we would think that, and
he'd say okay, but then he wouldn't do it,
and then he would
because he was independent,
do what he wanted behind his back. And so really there was no evidence that he was using. I mean, he might have been in with the the fun, maybe on the border of getting in trouble crowd. But right after actually he tore his ACL. We were waiting for surgery, right? So this would have been October of last year. He, like I said, he was fiercely independent. I'm sorry, back to when he turned 18. Because he was, held back. He was the first of the siblings to go into school. He was held back in kindergarten. That's when things start to come to light. People can't hide the conditions at home, and so a lot of children, that's when things are brought to light to the foster care system. He turned 18 March of his junior year, which is a very difficult,
very early time
and a very difficult time as a parent. Because I know what myself, I was like, I'm 18, you can't tell me what to do, da, 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 da. Well, we had a year and a half to go through that before he was going to be graduated, or a year and 3 months, or a couple months, and so from a very and then you had the pandemic on top of it all, and the lockdowns. We have his sister Divina is a type 1 diabetic. I'm a medical professional. I understand the risks, and we were strict about protecting everyone's well-being in our home and health, physically and mentally. But he wanted to be off with his friends. Okay, and so there was just so much going on there.
Can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Is it okay to pause the recording
Yes,
if I can ask a question?
Not for that.
Not for that. So I can't ask a question.
No, you can ask. Go ahead.
But it'll
But
be
not-
part of the
of course.
recording.
Yes, it'll be
Of course.
part of the record.
How much do you want us to reveal? Because I just don't want to.
Right.
I'm worried about if this goes further,
Right.
saying things that
Things
might.
are searchable, is how I feel.
Right.
There's certain
Anything
things
that
are
is
searchable.
pertinent to the investigation. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to. The reason I'm asking, first of all, I want to know what Davion is. When I investigate his death, I want to be able to investigate my little brother.
Right.
I want to be able to connect with him and understand what kind of person he was. So next time when I sit, so it's not just a person.
Right.
It's a family member.
Yeah.
So I want to make that connection and getting
So
to
you
know
wanted
him.
all.
I've
You
never
wanted- yeah.
I've never met him. I don't I don't know him.
Yeah.
He didn't have any run-ins with the police, positive or negative, that I was involved in.
Right.
So I want to be able to, when I sit with these other kids that I'm going to interview, to have an idea of who is Davion from the people who lived with him every day,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
right? And so, because it's easy, if I don't know him very well, if you hear rumors here and there, to start getting swayed, and I want to be anchored in knowing who he is.
Okay,
Right.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
And so it's very important,
Yeah.
as much as you're comfortable with it.
Yeah. So
I'm not
Right.
No, that's good.
I'm letting
Well,
you do the
That's good. I
talking,
just
so
was
Yeah.
you
And-
steer this
yeah.
conversation.
So
Okay.
there were two Davions, is what I'd
Well,
like to say. There was
sort
the
of.
at-home Davion
Yeah.
who was comfortable expressing his deepest, darkest emotions and fears and working
Inside
through
our
his
home and
his mental illnesses that he was struggling with. Because I do believe he had anger, like
Well,
the anger issues too.
yes, I
that
mean intermittent explosive
explosive
things
disorder.
like that.
He was
but,
diagnosed with intermittent
um,
explosive disorder,
first,
which only happened in the home.
it was
Like there was a
no
Davion
one
that was
saw it
outside
anywhere else.
that no one knew that he could explode because he never did with his friends.
Right.
He was always
We were in his
happy,
safe place.
loving, great friend Davion.
And he was.
And he was
in our
most
home
of the
too.
time at home. But when the stress got really hot and we hadn't found again the right mixture of medicines
Well,
yet to really, I
and
think,
not
help
just
him,
that, but we were holding
And
him accountable.
we were holding him accountable and he
no one else is holding him accountable.
no one else is holding him accountable. So there were times when he might punch a door or turn a bed over in anger. Now, these are like maybe 5 or 6 times over all the years we had him,
Correct.
but they did happen. And so I didn't know how much he wanted to know
and again,
of. Yeah.
We have no reports of him in public
Yeah.
punching somebody because he
Exactly.
had
Right.
an anger episode.
No,
Right.
So,
he did not.
like I said, we all have bad days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just throw something or chuck
Yeah.
Right. So he felt comfortable at
Now-
home, kind of being himself more
Yes.
in stuff that he maybe kind of hid more from his friends, or maybe he was just happier, maybe out because he wasn't being held accountable
Because it was free.
by his friends,
So,
and he was
and
free.
he felt that he could
So he was just
make his own
happy-go-lucky
choices.
Davion.
He could,
Right.
you know.
And
But to be honest, we were really starting to see that at home again too. Like he
Like,
was happy.
He
was
he told
telling
people he
his
was happy
friends
too.
he
That
was happy.
yeah,
I'm getting
because he
this
moved out
together.
for 2 or 3 months and lived with Landon Turner, who is known as Bubba as well. I don't know if he's a football teammate of Davion's.
Yeah.
And he when he turned 18, we kind of drew the line and said, you can live in the house, this
we
is
had
your
a living
home,
agreement.
but we had
like
a
a
living
contract.
agreement. This is what you need to do. This is your curfew. This is your
You gotta
whatever
go
while
to
you're going to
school.
school.
You this, you know. There's not going to be, you know, drugs, alcohol, illegal things in my home. There's not
Right.
going to be. You're not going to like. You're going to be a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
You know.
And so we
And
held him
that's,
accountable
you know.
one time, and he didn't want to abide by the consequence of being held
And
accountable.
so we left.
And so he left. He moved out.
And then,
Um,
and there were a few times
And he
that
stayed with
it
Landon for
happened.
about 3 months.
Yeah.
And then he graduated from school, from high school. And we kind of had we met with him at Landon's
lunch.
house, picked up some of his bags because they said,
Yeah.
you're out of
We
here
went
now
out
because
to
you're
lunch,
graduated. His parents, Landon's parents did. We went out to lunch. We talked about what a mutual, respectful relationship is and
Like
how
a
we can
living
live together.
agreement. You know,
Yeah,
a living
another-
arrangement. What
Right.
would that look like? Well, you always have a home here. This is your forever home. We love you. But there's guardrails to what's expected
Left
in our home. And those are for the protection of your sisters as well. And honestly, for your own personal well-being, whether or not you believe it or
Right.
not, you know.
We can't
And
make
so-
him stop smoking marijuana at the point what we knew he was doing.
At that
we can't
time,
stop
we knew.
that. Yeah, we can't stop you from doing that when you're outside of our house, but you don't bring it in the house.
And I have
You don't
told
bring
him
it
as
home.
such.
You don't come home in bad shape. You don't show your sisters that. You don't bring any substances into the house.
You know,
These are just a few
I
of the
can't,
rules
you
that we
know,
have.
you
but
should, we highly recommend that you stop all of that behavior. Look at what it's doing. It's causing problems in your life here or there, really in many different areas, you know. But you're 18, 19. All I can do is say, I'm not going to enable you. You know, I'm not going to give you whatever money, or I'm not going to allow you to live here.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we even had the conversations that I'm telling you, if I find it, I will be the one to report you. because I will do what I have to do to get you help. And you'll probably hate me for it for a while, but you'll thank me one day. And so this period, though, with Davion was really not a very long period. It was like...
The period that you spiraled?
Or I know you're
down?
calling it spiraling, but like, yeah.
Well, he had 10 points in 3 months on his license. That's spiraling. I mean, sorry.
He was making...
Really bad choices. He was,
he was in a bunch of accidents. He had a car that he was working
trying to
on.
soup up. And
the guys, they're doing mods on it. And I'm going, what are you guys doing? And
so it was a little bit unsafe for the road.
I think personally,
well, so did our mechanic.
Eventually, when we forced him to, because I'm like, we're taking this off the insurance. We're not allowing you to drive it. If you can go get your own insurance, you're 18. And so it's hard because we've had to have a lot of tough conversations with Davion, and that caused friction for quite some time. But I think when
he came back, things changed.
Yeah, like
for
his
the better,
time
at least as far as his
period
relationship
when
with
he
us.
had kind of moved out for a while because he felt like you just need to understand that I'm a man. I need to make my own way and figure out my own way. But he came back and was much more focused on the things he had with us at home
Instead of what he didn't
and
have.
with a family versus maybe some of the freedoms that we wouldn't allow.
And so there was this
If that makes
uptick
sense.
of-
It
that
does.
makes-
No,
okay.
it makes a lot.
He had like when he was living with Landon, he had lost his jobs. He was unemployed.
He wasn't going to school.
He wasn't going to school very much. He did end up graduating by the skin of his teeth.
He was
But
he was also severely depressed and stopped taking his medication.
right.
Out of rebellion, kind of too. He had said,
I don't need this.
some hateful things. As a parent, I wouldn't need this if it wasn't for you, God. Well, we're the ones holding you accountable, honey. We care about you. We're the ones that love you. We're trying to get you better.
So he came back and things were a little better when he
They
came
were
back.
a lot better. In fact, he had he was doing some volunteer work at our church and was at an event that it was a youth event, and our youngest daughter Dalia was there, and during the service he and I kept saying, we just need to get him back into the church. I can't force him to go, but we need to get him back into this community and people that care about him. I'm really concerned about some of this, friend periphery group, but getting him back. And he had a breakthrough where he was just crying during the service. He went up to his sisters and said, I'm sorry
I haven't been the best
for
brother.
everything that I've done. I might not have been the best brother, because when he did move out, I'll be honest, our girls, that triggered a lot of abandonment trauma in them. And
Their
that
brother
was
just left them.
hard, and
Just like their parents.
and they're still in contact, but it's not the same. And I would try to explain, honey, you realize he's not going to live here forever, right? Like, he's going to grow up, and so are you eventually. You're going to move out. But just, that's where I'm saying he was like fiercely independent, but I think he also, I remember when I was 19 or 18 just thinking like, oh, when I get out there, it's going to be this way. And the reality of the world is so much different. And adulting is hard work. It's really hard work. And so I think, he came back and there were a lot of conversations that I had with him where he said, Mom, I get what you're doing now. And, I got to be honest, like, you and Dad, like, what you're doing is really special and really amazing, and I don't know that anyone else could do it. Other families that I've seen, they're a different dynamic, they're bio kids and that kind of stuff, but your motives are different, and I know that.
So, at what point did Dominic and Mackenzie
That's
come
very
into the
recent,
picture?
very recent.
Like, give me,
Is
if
I-
you can.
And that's
least-
part of the thing is
His closeness to them, I think, is recent. I think he
Very
might have known them in high
Yeah.
school for a long time. But I think as Davion got more maybe into the marijuana scene and hanging out with people who could provide it, maybe he
I'm
wasn't,
not sure.
he wasn't working as much. He just started working again before he passed the
Yeah.
accident. But I think,
But he had also
he
said
wanted to hang with
was,
people who had
I mean,
access to it.
but at that same time, he had this like this moment, an epiphany, like literally within the last like couple weeks, and it was like, Mom, I'm gonna quit all of this. And I'm like, okay, you know, let's do it. Let's not, like, you know, today's the day. You know, it's never
Cold
too
turkey.
late. Yeah, it's never too late to start again.
So-
So they're new friends, newer to his scene.
What was their influence like? I mean, I
I don't-
understand.
yeah.
Did he ever talk about him? Did he ever bring him around?
I've never met Dominic. I've never met Kenzie. He never brought
He
them
never brought
around.
those
The
two
only time there was any interaction was when Dominic was apparently pulled over in front of our house recently. And to be honest, like, we didn't really have a lot of conversation with that after, because Davion came into the house very hot, like very upset about what had happened and feeling like,
Well, it's because I said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
and that's,
I was up at 3 a.m. when he was pulled, because he was in the car with Dominic when Dominic got pulled over. And I said to him, he's like, he has a medical marijuana card. I don't want to talk about this. And I said, okay, we won't talk about it right now, but show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You're hanging out with the wrong people, Davion.
what are you doing?
And
We're
what are you
worried
doing?
about you.
Right.
You know,
And so we let it drop at that point. And Davion needed a place to stay when we went on vacation, because he hadn't built enough trust with us yet to stay at the house alone.
I was trying
while
to,
we went on vacation.
Yeah, I was encouraging him. I really wanted him to come, but I also know that he needed money. He needed his, you know, like,
He just started a new job.
he started a new job, and I don't think he was comfortable bringing up, hey, my parents signed me up for this 2-week vacation. I just know I just started, but can I have 2 weeks off? Like, in 2 weeks, you know?
So is that the reason he didn't?
He
Correct.
didn't go with us, right?
Correct.
And I think he wanted to say goodbye to his friends that were
That we're
leaving
leaving
for
for
college.
college.
Because we were going to be gone for 2 weeks on vacation. So we still wouldn't be back until this
Yeah.
Sunday, the day of the service.
Yeah. I mean, he
The
normally...
viewing, the viewing.
Yeah, he normally would have gone. So he stayed, you know, and we were
He
like,
was looking for a place to stay. We had some family
he was
set
going to
up.
stay with family. We had the conversation about, you know, him staying there at the house. And, you know, I was like, you need, like, what we were looking for was somewhere that he could stay that had an adult presence, like a responsible adult presence.
But we had no
Obviously
idea
not
about
looking for a babysitter, so to speak, but like, okay, so, you know, one of the things that we thought, okay, well, you know, okay, you'll stay with Dominic, you know, his parents are at least next door. And
we had no
by
idea
no
that Dominic
means-
was a dealer at this
right,
point.
but also, obviously no idea. But also, and I'm not saying I expected Mr. and Mr. Russo to babysit my child either, but we did offer them and Dominic some money to help with food, or to, you know, like, in exchange for him staying there. And we did give them a couple $100, and we gave it to Davion for him to give to them. Because, you know, we knew this was a big ask, but we really wanted him to be somewhere that, like, I'm not leaving you. I'm not going to be on vacation and worried about what's going on at my home the entire time, even
That's
though we
not a
have
vacation.
cameras,
Right.
even though I have, you know, an alarm system and locks that I can lock here or there. Davion was also, he was at times, you know, ADD. And he would forget to close the garage door, and I would get up at night and I'd be like, we got a message in our mailbox from, you know, the patrol.
Police.
Hey, stop
garage
leaving
door
your
was
garage
open
door
all
open.
night.
You're inviting, you know, stuff.
Theft.
And just, you know, I mean, it's something that I think also kids, just as they age and it becomes their property, they start to pay more attention to the safety aspects of it. And so we weren't comfortable with that. We also weren't comfortable because we knew, like, okay, so we had sat down with him really in the last, like, probably 6 to 8 weeks with him moving back in. He moved back in right before
June.
like right
Or
before
beginning of June.
commencement.
Yeah.
And you know, we had gone back out, and even, like, I mean, from the text messages I had said, I'm assuming, hey, I just want to make this clear, because you mentioned, yes, you're graduating, yes, you're this, and now you're telling me you need to be out of your place that you're staying, you know,
Landon's house.
like, which this was like a complete blindside to me, because for a while there was probably a month period of that 3 months that he was gone that Davion didn't want us to know where he was. We didn't know where he was. we just knew that he wasn't showing up at school. And we're reaching out to the school, and he's an adult, please, try, if there's someone there that can get through to him and his heart, and it's not us, please, there's people in the building that care about him. He's struggling right now, he's hurting, he lost his football passion, this was his dream to go on to play, and that was taken from him, and so he, I think a lot of it stemmed from that, and then from the anxiety, and he got behind in school, and then it just became too big. Okay. And I just kept saying, honey, like, people want to help you. Reach out to your teachers. They're emailing us. We were in so much contact with the guidance counselor, the principal, so in any case, this was, a recent thing that he was back in our home, and that we had these conversations with him. I completely lost my train of thought again. It's been a really long day.
That's okay. We were talking about why we left him, why he couldn't stay at the house, and why he could not have his sister's car to borrow.
Yes.
Because we said, why you're still using, we're not trusting the vehicle to you.
Yes, so before he had even come home to us, I'm not naive. Like, I had caught a few things in his urine before, just parenting, and said, and it was nothing. It was marijuana. It was nicotine, and we had those hard conversations. But coming up to that, we were very clear. I don't know what you've been doing, but here's how it's going to go, and you're not going to do that here, and there's not going to be any violence, and there's not going to be any weapons, there's not going to be illegal activity on my property. You're gonna, if you're not coming home that night, I'm not going to give you a curfew, you're 19, but at the same time, if I wasn't coming home, I would let my family know, and that's because we're worried, and we can't sleep when we don't know if you're hurt or injured or in trouble. We had laid down some very basic rules. And one of the things was during this process where, he was in these accidents, his car was in an accident that was totaled, and then it was repossessed. Because, again, he turned 18. He went off and said, I'm going to get my own phone, so you can't have any access to where I am. I'm going to go off to fiercely independent. I'm going to go off and I'm going to buy a car because you can't take that. You can't tell me what to do with it. You can't tell me I'm grounded from that vehicle.
So, when was the last time you heard from him?
He texted us on, was it Friday night?
Yeah, and his sister and I were on the phone. I didn't talk to him personally, but earlier that day, so Saturday, we were out at a surf shop, looking for stuff to bring home for him, and Divine was on the phone like, hey, what do you think? Would you like this versus this?
Yeah.
And so she was in contact with him, and like kind of through that I was. Prior to that, our last message from him was right before we left.
Friday night now, when we got down to North Carolina, he texted that he loved us and we hope we have a good trip.
Yes. Okay, so it was Friday night. I'm just trying to look back. I have so many
That
messages.
would be Friday the
29th.
Yeah.
29th, Saturday was the 30th.
Yeah, and so we had told him that, I'm not comfortable because I know that you have these points on your license. I know that you have, I don't know what you've been doing if you can't prove to me right now that you haven't been smoking marijuana, we're not comfortable handing you keys to our car or a vehicle that we own or own insurance on until you can prove to us that you're making better choices and that you're, so we were going to Uber him back and forth to work. And that
but then he
was
said Dominic can give me a ride.
Yeah.
He said Dominic has vehicles, he can give me a ride to and from work.
And it's complicated because we have a big family here, but everybody was there, the part of the family that was here.
Yeah.
And so, I'm like trying to think like, who can we offer? And I was like, you know what, if we need to Uber you, but I will send me the receipt. That's the money I will give you. I'm not, even when he moved back in, me not knowing what's going on, with him and his friend group, and if he was dabbling in marijuana still or not, we wouldn't give him cash because I was not going to contribute to that.
Right.
So, have you ever heard of Paul?
No,
That's a new name to me.
that's a new name until all this happened. We never knew about Paul.
So, who are his close friends? If I were going to track down his...
Husni.
And it's hard because it's high school and the drama, and it's
Right,
hard to keep
but-
up with.
Right. But
Whose name's
anybody
a close-
whose
yeah.
name came up frequently.
Joey.
Kingston.
Joey. Not Joe.
Oh,
It's Joe
Joey
Kingston.
Probst, Probst,
ST.
was someone that
Joey
he had
Probst.
been with a lot recently,
Who was also into the drug scene.
from what we
and
understand, which I
smoking.
found out. I
Right.
know it's unfortunate, but
Joe
and to
Kingston
be honest,
was a
I
close
didn't know
friend.
that until we went and sat down with his mother,
With Joey's mother.
Yeah.
right before we were going to leave, because
He might have stayed
he had
there.
said, "Oh, Joey, I could probably stay at Joey's," and so, you know, I reached out to Joey's mom. Joey's mom texted me back, and we met for ice cream to talk about it. You know, and then she had
Ended up
shared
not
some
working
things
out,
with me that I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that all of this was going on." You know,
At your house.
at your
Meaning-
house.
meaning-
Would you be able to tell me things like what?
Well,
I'm not going to
I
reach
could-
out to her.
I
Okay.
know,
Just,
and
you know.
Marijuana
well,
for
like
sure.
for instance, Scott, how I got her phone number was when Scott pulled up one time to pick up Davion. She came out and talked to him and said, "You know that the kids are smoking here." I'm like, "What?" You know, like Scott said, he's
Yeah.
like, "You know, they're smoking." This turned into a bit of a party house, and you know, she's not okay with this, but yet I also, and I say this with like, I don't really know what the correct way to say it is, but I do know that like she has some,
She's socially awkward.
yes, and she has some medical things where, you know, she does have a seizure disorder that she's had since she was a child, and still has seizures. She can't work, she can't drive, and talking to her, I don't know if she's on the spectrum at all, but, you know, having conversations, I'm like, wait, where did that part even come into this conversation?
Yeah, it's a little disjointed
And
when
so
you
I
talk to her.
felt, you know, like my heart was like breaking for this situation too, you know. And I think she was really like looking, she needed a friend and she was looking for support. I think she's living there with her father. It's the dad's house.
Do you know where they live?
They
Yeah,
live.
they live on-
No, I can tell.
It's no big deal.
There.
So
They live in
Yeah.
Huntington.
Huntington Park? Or
Yeah.
Huntington Park.
Meadow-
No,
Hunting Meadows?
Hunting Meadows.
Yeah.
Right off of Drake
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Pearl. And I don't know why I can't think of the name of the street right now. If I looked at a map, I'd know it. But
No big
deal.
anyways, there was some cough syrup that she
Well,
found in the
and
house.
so as through this conversation we're talking, and I feel like a big piece for me is like I deal with this kind of stuff, you know. I mean, I have a doctorate in pharmacology, you know, so like a lot of parents are pretty naive about a lot of this stuff, and I am not. Like, I'm not at all. And you know, so she was asking me questions like, well, what's this that I saw, or what's that? And,
she had pictures of some stuff.
and
that
one
was
of the
showing
things
us,
she
too.
showed me was a picture of a bottle of syrup. It was a prescription bottle of promethazine. There was no codeine in it. It was plain promethazine. But I was like, you found that in Joey's room? And she said, yeah, I took it. And I was like, that is extremely concerning because I don't know what they're mixing with that. And if they're dabbling in narcotics and opioids, you need to get your son help right away. I'm not judging you for what you have done at your home. These are your decisions. I'm not, you know, like, this is not going to happen in my home. I'll tell you that. Like, that's why they're not coming here. But it was very concerning. She had talked about maybe some edibles that she thought maybe they were making, and some, you know, marijuana. And I know, here's the thing though, because of this whole legalize and medical marijuana, like, just political climate that we're in, there's a lot of adults out there, parents that are like, oh, it's just marijuana. It's just marijuana. And maybe that's not how I feel about it, because especially for teens, it can very often become a gateway. And so some of the things she was telling me, like I believe there were some resins there, like, you know, and these vape oils, you know, and they're so high potency, and I'm trying to educate her. Like, I am treating patients that due to you know, excessive marijuana use are now having schizoaffective disorder problems. They were sent to like a mental hospital and an ER. And these are things that I'm literally seeing in medical journals, substantiated with a lot of evidence. And it's not just that, it's just the high THC that is in this stuff. It's not the marijuana of the youth of your dad who is remembering this. That was like 4 to 7% THC, maybe 9 at the most. This stuff's like 98, 99%. It's 1% away from Schedule 1, you know, completely illegal across the entire country. And what is so frustrating to me as a professional as well with these companies is that they find a way around the laws over and over and over, and they keep coming out with a new Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta blah, blah, blah. And it's all to get around laws, in my opinion. So, yes, so there is Joey. And then once we found that out, I was like, well, to be honest, I'm not so sure I want Davion staying at Joey's.
Right.
And quite frankly, she contacted us the next day and said, it's not going to work out. Because I think through her conversation with me and some of the things that she was telling me, I think because she was like, this needs to change, you know, like I can't, this isn't going to go on, you know. And so I hope that happened. I don't know. But I felt like she really didn't have much of a support system, and that she was looking for, I mean, she's reached out to me multiple times, like she needs a friend. And she was overwhelmed, is how I felt.
So
Joey.
And then
Joey
we have
Brooks.
Landon Turner.
Landon
What do you know about Landon?
Landon is a football player who has a scholarship to go play at Marietta College in Southern Ohio. Landon is where Davion stayed for 3 months when he left the house and decided that he wasn't going to live by our rules.
Yeah, he couch surfed for a while, and then he landed at Landon's house.
Landon, I think, might smoke occasionally.
I don't know that he does anymore.
And maybe not anymore. Is his football starting up again?
Yeah, underage drinker, I would say.
Yeah. But he was on the football team, so he was a really good friend of Davion's.
I mean,
Husni, I don't know Husni's last name. I'm sorry, I don't.
I have it.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
Husni,
He actually reached out to us. He was
Okay.
one of the first people.
Yeah.
And Husni has worked with Davion like as a manager in various different places, like Chipotle, Papa John's. And even before that, maybe at Five Guys. Yeah, so like they've kind of followed each other. They've had they're
like brothers.
They're like brothers. They fight like brothers.
They fight like brothers,
like,
and they hang out like brothers.
Like,
and love each other like
and
brothers.
Husni will, and I've seen it. You know, like he will call him out in love, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
as a
Husni
friend.
was probably, from a parental standpoint, the best friend that Davion could have had because he would call Davion out on his crap. The stuff that he would say was true.
No, and Husni's probably not. He's a kid himself too.
Yeah. But that's a really good friend. Kyle Harper,
which
was
I don't know.
Lifelong friend of Davion.
Yeah.
We met him literally, I think, the day we moved in or the day after we moved in.
Yeah.
He became friends when we moved to Strongsville.
And Husni is very good friends with him, as is Yosef, which I don't know very well.
And I don't know Yosef's last name either.
But Husni and Kyle Harper were the two that were involved in
putting together
Harper.
Harper.
HARPER. They live right next door to us. So we're the first house on the corner, they're the next
They're the
one.
second.
And they were the two that organized
The vigil.
one of the very large vigils that was held
At the crash
They did
site.
an incredible job. It
yeah.
was really
Awesome.
It was really good. The thing is, Davion was close to so many people.
I just wanted to
Joe Kingston. I don't know if we mentioned him.
That's what I was saying, and you told me no.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Joe Kingston, he was close to for a long time.
And
He might not have been super close to him the last
right
couple
this
months,
second,
but certainly within the last 6 months, they were best friends and
Yeah.
hanging out all the time.
and he had been at Joe's during various times when he had maybe, you know, couch surfed or
Okay.
and also, I mean, there's this Yosef that he was really close to who was involved in the vigil. I don't know. Well, a lot of these kids, like,
Right, and we can find out. So the reason I'm asking you is I want to kind of establish a baseline of if those names come up, I want to be able to say, well, yeah, that name's come up before. Somebody I should probably talk. I'm not telling you I'm going to talk to anybody yet.
Okay.
I just kind of want to build that pool of names of who's close, who's not.
there were a lot of girls on the periphery too.
Yeah,
I
Hope
mean,
was Hope Bedenik,
Bedenik, Bedenik. Now, she organized a GoFundMe for him right away, but there's also, you know, there's drama in all of this. You know, and depending, every friend, it seems like, you know, there's an opinion about the other, you know, just even,
Yeah, but
I
Hope was
can't even imagine what you're dealing with trying to sift through the truth.
Yeah, Hope was a really close friend to him and Joe Kingston. They would the three of them would hang out, this was about 6 months ago, would hang out every day.
And they actually, Hope has been to our home before, and so has Joe Kingston. That was one of the groups that, like they would come over, you know, but not that often. But, you know, they were over there in our basement. We've got cameras, like, literally there, too, because I just...
Well, we have teenage daughters. There's no way we're not going to have a...
And a son, too.
Yeah, a son, yeah.
I just... And they know, and they're like, why do we have to have all this? I said, well, you tell me, you know. History
if you're not doing anything
told,
wrong, the camera shouldn't matter, should they?
And, you know, history has told me I might need these, so they're there to keep us
Those
all
are probably
honest.
at least a starter list
Yeah,
of friends.
yeah, like,
I'm sure
so
there's others he was
Hope-
close to because he didn't talk to us all the time about his friends. He was kind of closed off about that a bit with his parents. When he brought Hope over, he brought Joe over, like, hi, how you doing? You know, a friend of Davion, we're so excited to meet you.
There was no,
it just didn't happen a lot.
There was no girlfriend that we were aware of at this time, or like significant girlfriend.
But he liked Hope a lot.
He liked Hope, but I mean, Davion just, yeah.
He was looking for love. I mean, like, he wanted to be loved. Like, that was one of the sad things about, he never had that one person that just, he fell in love with and he stuck with for a while. He never had that opportunity.
Well,
through, I'm sure mistakes that he made himself during his high school career, and just. But
even in general, I felt like from a very young age, he's got, a mother wound.
Right.
And, I try to fill that as much as I can. But also, I was always worried, like, honey, we gotta talk about this in counseling. Like, this is gonna affect your relationships. Like, you're not going to find this perfect person that's going to fix everything in your life. They're going to disappoint you at times. He was just such a good kid.
He was. He had flaws like everyone does, but he had a really good heart.
Such a good heart. I mean, to his detriment. Like, he would put himself in situations where he is trying to help these friends of his, and where I've had conversations, I'm like, David, no, you're not helping them. I understand you're giving them a safe ride home. Okay, that's admirable, and that's great. But
that was one of his.
But you also are driving minors around who are underage drunk. Maybe they don't have things in your car, thank God, and you didn't allow that. But you're putting yourself in harm's way and in situations that you can get in trouble for. Out of your love for them, but to be honest, your love is you're enabling them.
Yeah, right.
You're enabling.
You want to help those
them.
kids? Call their parents. Have them call their parents and pick them up. You don't go get, as an 18-year-old at the time, you don't go get 4 underage minors who have been out drinking all night and drive them home at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. You just don't put yourself out there like that. That is dangerous. He got pulled over.
Well,
he got 4
was
counts
parked
of.
illegally.
Well, he did, but he got.
I think it might have. I mean, it might be.
Well, he got arrested. He spent the night in jail.
He did.
He got
because he was the only adult.
He was charged with 4 counts of child
endangerment. Or no, child.
Contributing
to the delinquency of a minor.
And it got dropped
because there was no proof. He didn't give them the alcohol. He was just trying to get them home. But it's just
he was
another case of
he had them out.
putting himself in a bad
situation. But that was like his heart. Like
it was his heart.
And his heart was for people that were hurting.
Yeah.
And I would ask him, I would say, honey, like, why are you hanging out with this crowd, you know? And he said, you know, people that are hurting, they get me, and I get them. You know, it's these kids that, you know, maybe they haven't had the best home life, or maybe they did. I have no idea. Do you know what I mean? I don't know their situations,
Right.
but he was a friend to all. Like, he didn't discriminate in a way.
Right. He was friends with football players. He was friends with cheerleaders. He was friends with drug dealers. You know, he was friends with
and I
a
would
large
say,
group
like,
of people.
what are you doing? He's like, Mom, I'm helping them. I'm like, no, you're not helping them. Like, you think you're helping them, but helping them is getting them real help. Like, with an adult, with someone that can, you know, help them
change
their life. Like, not, you know, and that was a hard thing because he was hard-headed, and he said, you don't understand, I'm helping my friend.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is like kind of like a tale of two cities, you know.
Yes.
It's like you hear the very, very positive and then see the tragic end. And,
It's awful.
And, you know, I'm really sorry for his loss. The more I hear now, the more it's like, wow, this is a kid with a lot of potential.
It really is. He's very
So-
talented and very kind and smart. I mean, if you look at his high school transcript, you might not think that sometimes, but whatever that kid put his mind to,
He was good at it.
he could do it.
Not everybody's book smart doesn't mean smart.
Exactly.
You know, if he's good
Right.
with his hands and he's a good
Yes.
barber and taking things apart, putting things
Yeah.
together.
He
That's
was
very
very
And-
good
good with
too.
hands.
And there's
He was
also,
mechanically smart,
like,
kind of like that.
as a parent, I felt this, like, anxiety of this, you know, I see these choices and, you know, that we're
She
trying
describes
to,
it as a snowball rolling down the hill that we
like
just
an avalanche,
we
that I
couldn't
couldn't,
stop.
I saw it coming, and
We
I
tried,
saw the
but we
choices, and I
couldn't
kept
stop
saying,
it.
honey, like, I mean, I have texts that say, like, you know, like, I'm concerned about your behavior and like the outcome of what that could have for you.
Mhm.
We're scared, we're worried. And he,
But we were just overreacting. Parents.
of course,
from his
you know,
perspective.
of course, we were just overreacting. But like, it's just I don't know. He really did have so much potential, and he gave so much of himself for friends and for family, and you know, like the other thing, I think this is where it was going when I got distracted again, I'm so sorry, was that he I'm so tired.
We're done here.
Okay, he's
Okay.
done, honey. I think we're good.
No,
or you
but
got one last thing you want to say.
no, there is something important that I wanted to say, that he where was I again?
We were
Walk me
talking.
back.
That's okay. We were talking about how he was a friend to others to his detriment. That he thought he was helping them, but really
Mhm.
wasn't helping them. That it was a snowball rolling down the hill, and we tried to stop it, but we couldn't.
Mhm.
And those are the things that we said in the last few minutes. I don't know if you're going to
Yeah.
find it again or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because literally I
It's
think I
okay.
can
We're going to have other
But,
conversations.
We
with
will.
the
Yeah,
detective.
he just
Did we get through all your questions?
You did.
Okay.
Like I said, I just wanted to establish that baseline, get to know
Okay.
what
Yeah. He was a wonderfully beautiful Florida
and
human
I
being.
would try, yes, and I would try to tell him,
Just
I
like we
was
all
like,
are.
honey, these
Yeah.
people, like, that you're driving around, and you know, those kids got in trouble. Otherwise, I would have been calling. Do you know what I mean? That was handled. You know, their parents were notified, and that's just because that's who we are. You know, but I said, you know, that just these kids, honey, like, they're not. I'm not sure they're true friends,
Mhm.
because they don't have your best interest in mind.
Yeah.
Like, a true friend wouldn't call you out to drive them around like that, you know, and put you in that position, or, you know, and it's one thing to like rescue someone once and to, you know, get them out of this bad situation, but these are kids that are continually doing these things, and
Like, every night of the
that's
week.
not
Yeah.
that's not a friend. That's a friend then. That's selfish.
So
And so
as we move on from here, we're gonna have another conversation.
Okay.
Obviously, it doesn't have to be in this setting.
Yeah.
You know, over the next 2 weeks.
I thought of it. I'm sorry,
Sure.
I have to tell you before
Go
I
ahead.
forget.
Thought we were done, but we're
Over
not.
yeah, and over the last like, I would say, I don't know, even pre-pandemic, like Davion, we used to kind of joke a little bit, like the kid's got 9 lives. He lands on his feet all the time. And we are like, and I'm thankful, but at the same time, like, you know,
His parents feel like we want him to be held accountable
like,
sometimes. Like, he
come
kept
on,
getting
like
off
the
of things.
school is like letting him off the hook. I'm sure he's like, you know, he's a charming, cute football player. You know what I mean? And I'm getting these emails from teachers, and I'm like, hold him accountable. And they're like, then they'll say things like, one of the teachers will gosh, like, oh, he actually came to class today and he did his work, and he's such a well-spoken young man. And I'm thinking, sweetheart,
He's playing you.
yeah, you know what I mean? Hold my kid accountable. And so over the last several years, and some of it was due to the pandemic, and even from like a school standpoint, you know, kids weren't being held accountable as highly because this is awful, and no one's grades are what they should be or their effort, you know. But some of the things, it was like, you know, like he wasn't giving his schooling the attention that I knew he could. And there was a
He
time
was an
when we
A-B
had
student
talked,
when
yeah,
we
and I
tried.
had said, honey, like he could figure, this is how smart he was. He could figure out like to the 10th or 100th of a, you know, percentage point the amount of work he needed to do to get the grade he wanted,
Right.
or to pass.
If he needed like a D in the class to pass, he would know what it was like to get a 59.6 to round it up to 60. It was incredible. Like, I need to get exactly this in a test.
I'm like, and
if you spent that much effort actually on homework instead of calculating your
yes, I mean it's brilliant, but buddy, like I'm like, you're hurting yourself here, you know. And he, you know, we would talk, and I'd be like, you know, babe, like you're gambling. You know, like you're putting a lot on, oh, I can pull it through at the end, or I can, and it worked for him so many times. And there were so many times that you know, I told him, when the pandemic hit, like original plan, because I'm like, you know, we went back and forth, like this is such an argument in the house all the time. We have to hands off, like we're not going to be here forever. We need to let natural consequences happen with the school or whatever. Well, then the school's not holding them accountable. School is wonderful, don't get me wrong, you know, but we're like, okay, come on, someone else needs to have this conversation and speak into our kid's life. And you know, there was a time period where I'm like, you're gonna lose your seat on the team due to grades. You're not gonna make the academic requirements, you know. And he's like, oh, no, I have this time, I'll pull through. And then the pandemic hit and school got shut down. And there was a time period where the school had said, we're going to close it here and we're going to take the grades as they stand. And I knew that meant he wasn't going to make the team, and so did Davion. Like I actually saw a tear out of his eye, and Davion did not cry in front of me or us often. And I said, honey, I'm so sorry, but you know, I keep telling you, when you gamble, sometimes you're going to get away with it. Sometimes you're going to win big. And sometimes you're going to lose it all. And just situations in his life just kept coming up. And so every little thing that had happened over the last few months, like that situation where he was arrested for the night, you know, and held, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the thing that gets him back on track. Right. You know, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the thing. And we were so close to out of the weeds that it just hurts my heart. And I don't know. You know, yes, my son stepped into the back of that car that night, and he took one too many gambles. I don't know who or where, what is decided that time my son is going to roll snake eyes. I don't know, you know, but he would still be alive today if it wasn't for that driver.
And like I said, you know, this is what we're going to piece together.
Yeah.
For the court to look at.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the prosecutor decides what and how it goes from here, what charges and all that. Yeah. And ultimately, you know, my job is to paint this big mosaic here, and it's taking all the pieces. And obviously, this time we spent together this evening is a big piece, and it's going to help me.
Yeah.
When I start talking to the other people. But this will not be the last conversation.
Right.
We will have another conversation, especially once I've finished my interviews and now I have some, hey, I heard this. Do you know anything about that? Hey, have you heard this name? And you know, I don't know what's going to come out of those interviews. I really don't.
Right.
But I just want to, like I said, Fridays, give or take around noon, I will be.
And we'll make ourselves available to you
updates.
anytime you need to follow up once you have your interviews completed. Just let us know.
Yeah, and I don't know if, like, my daughter will want to speak to you, Divine.
That's
She's
up to her.
17 and a half, but even just to share some of her conversations or things
She
that she
knows
had
his
in the
friend
back.
group
She knows
And-
them
and-
much better than we do.
And I don't want to, I don't want to compel anyone to do that.
I think she would
because
in a heartbeat, to
She-
be honest.
Probably wants to.
because there's always if it goes in my report,
Exactly.
they could potentially now be somebody that
Needs to
if
go
we
on
go
the
to
stand.
trial,
I
now the
understand.
defense might want to talk to
Yeah,
her.
and I
So
wanna protect
so I
her,
don't
too.
know that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But if she wants, I wouldn't call it an off the record.
Yeah.
Which one you show?
It's
Christmas.
Christmas.
Oh, with the dog too, who
Yeah.
But if she
Davion
has
loves
questions that I could potentially answer for her, if she has any, I would say not curiosity, but wants to know what the process is like and how things are going, I'm more than happy to make
And
myself available.
Thank you. And we're having a lot of conversations at home, and we're trying to, she already has a counselor that she had been set up with. All of us are really,
In counseling.
so she's working through things, and I think she trusts us, and that's a blessing. I think, she knows that we want what's best for her brother and what's best for her and her sister. Like she knows that in her deep down knower. So.
Well,
Okay.
like I said, at this point, we're at the very, 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 very beginning of this, and this will take a very long time. So
Okay.
all I'm just
We'll
going to
prepare
ask
ourselves
for
for
is just your patience,
Yeah.
please. You're going to hear rumors, because rumors just don't stop.
Right.
I cannot share everything,
Yeah.
Right.
but whatever I can share without compromising my investigation, I
Of
will.
course.
Not that I don't trust you, but some things
Of course.
are
This
not.
was the first summer they were with us.
Oh,
That's
wow.
Scott's dad,
So
who
young.
is deceased now. He lived with us for 10 years before he passed, but
Wow. So
I can't help. I'm just
no,
I'm a
it's
proud mother,
it's
and
you will get an opportunity at some point to write the judge or
okay.
write the prosecutor, and what I ultimately it's your decision, but I'm going to reach out to the prosecutor, let him know we had this meeting, and to like I said, he was waiting for me to tell him when you're back in town for him. He didn't want to intrude, so I'll reach out to him, let him know.
Okay. I also got a call on my voicemail earlier today from a number I didn't recognize, which could have very well been
It
his
could have
office.
been. His name is Tim.
Okay.
Tim Troop.
Yes.
TROUP. Like I said,
Yes, we have that. I think we have his number too.
yes,
But
very
yeah,
good
we've
guy.
just been in meetings all day.
and I understand. And
Yeah.
so at this point, thank you very much for coming down here, and we'll be in contact.
Pass the split, this stupid ass bitch try to crash the whip. I never wanna get in this car again. You can never heal these scars again. Pass the split, this stupid ass bitch try to crash the whip. I never wanna get in this car again. You can never heal these scars again. Papa Steve with that man, listen, yeah, Mackenzie, better get your ass in that damn kitchen, cooking for the inmates, and you really need to pay attention. Yeah, you really think you gon' get out, you can keep wishing. Yeah, them bitches, once you dead, they going on a mission. She doing Kegels in the cell, yeah, she's in position. She ain't got the proper products, yeah, she smelling fishy. Them homemade dildos, yeah, they hitting different. It's okay that you gay now. I heard you doing crochet now. You on the yard from the playground. You gonna stand up or you gonna lay down? Pass the spliff. This stupid ass bitch try to crash the whip. Pass the spliff. This stupid ass bitch try to crash the whip. I'm never gonna go in this car again. This stupid ass bitch can heal these scars again. I'm smoking so much Mackenzie, I'm in Mars again. I'm never gonna get involved again. This little ass bitch won't evolve in the end. She will never ever drive a car again. Her parents gonna be long and gone by then.